Phantom of the Opera. Even before opening night, the Canadian production made live theater history by smashing the world record for advance ticket sales. Tonight, the behind-the-scenes story of the Canadian production of Phantom of the Opera. You'll see moments from this magnificent production, and you'll meet the talented performers, musicians, craftsmen, technicians who came from all across Canada to make Phantom an international success story.
I think the Phantom of the Opera would make a lousy play, but I think it makes a wonderful romantic musical.
The story of the Phantom has gripped the imagination of people for centuries. It's a story of hope and fear and shock and suspense, but most of all, it's a story of love. Deep, dark, dangerous, passionate love. There's danger and drama here, too. Millions of dollars were spent restoring Toronto's Pantages Theatre. The risks were enormous. The producers had to go from bare walls to state-of-the-art showcase in 6 months, when the sold-out opening night crowd would come to the party.
From whom? I'm sorry, hold on. We split the difference. Everybody project a bit more.
The legendary Hal Prince directs. He's won a record 16 Tonys, and his mega hits include Damn Yankees, West Side Story, Fiddler on the Roof, Cabaret, Zorba, and of course, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Evita.
You were supposed to have been immortal.
Hal's staging just comes naturally. I mean, it just builds on the material. As he reads the material, he knows where he wants people to go and what he wants them to do.
Because you want to know what you're gonna get in me.
There are some directors that you say were absolutely right for a certain piece, and Hal was spectacularly right for Phantom.
Lot 664, slight pause, next energy. A wooden pistol and 3, you know what I mean? So that you regenerate yourself each time.
Funnily enough, most of my musicals, I have come back over and done some work after they've opened. I did so with Evita, with Hal. I did so with Cats, with Trevor Nunn. I mean, the number of versions of Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat are legion. And I've done a little bit of work on Aspects of Love afterwards. Funnily enough, the only musical that I've never come back over was Phantom. When I first heard about the idea of the Phantom of the Opera or saw anything about the Phantom of the Opera, I always thought of it as a kind of jokey horror story. I mean, Lon Chaney was quite close to the book, but still it was horror, or it became funny or campy or something. And I never thought that it was an idea for me, but I discovered that there was like 7 different strands to the novel. I mean, there was a kind of detective story, there was a kind of horror story, there was a kind of historical, I promise you, dear reader, this story is true kind of element to it, but also in there was the romance.
The genesis of Andrew Lloyd Webber saying, I want to do a musical of Phantom of the Opera, how do you feel about it? I said, Andrew, there's a romantic musical, and there hasn't been one forever. And he gave me some tapes to hear.
With 6 months to go before opening night, Hal Prince meets with the stars of the show in his New York office.
Music of the Night, those 2.
Colm Wilkinson
And I said, the
is
last
the
time I
Phantom of
felt
the Opera.
anything like that was, would you believe it, on the opening night of South Pacific. We're talking
Toronto-born Rebecca Kane returns home to Canada to play the equally complex romantic lead.
With the Rogerses. And somewhere in the middle of the first act, Pinza sang Some Enchanted Evening. Yeah. And I thought, this is the most romantic a theater has ever been in my memory. It's Andrew's favorite moment. It's Andrew's favorite score. So we both looked at each other, said that, and went to work on Phantom of the Opera.
The first rehearsal with the stars takes place in New York City. It's under the sensitive guidance of a longtime and valued associate of Hal Prince, Ruth Mitchell.
The show is very tight. It all works, and it works beautifully, so that it isn't hard to do because it is all of a piece. And after everybody begins to feel what they're supposed to do in the show, it just goes together so beautifully. So that it never feels like hard work for me. The new actors may feel that it's very hard for them, but I just seem to enjoy it a lot.
The ultimate goal here was to restore the pantages faithfully to its former opulence, a large challenge. Much expense would be involved in the restoration of this historic building. The original pantages was built in 1920, designed by the world-renowned theater architect Thomas Lamb. Its restoration, begun in 1988, resulted from the vision of one man, Garth Drabinsky.
This theater reeked of grandeur and elegance, which was the way theaters were designed, the environmental palaces of the 1910s and 1920s. They cared tremendously about bringing the audience into an atmosphere, an environment that was fanciful and very, very magical, in fact. These wonderful palaces, whether they were built initially for vaudeville or for motion pictures, died out. Most of them were boarded up or finally demolished throughout North America, and a few events in various municipalities allowed certain of these theaters to be saved, and we were fortunate enough to be involved with this one.
Incredible care has been taken with each detail. Over 800 plaster casts were remolded. 1,500 paint samples were analyzed. New artwork was commissioned. Original murals were restored. And with an all but impossible deadline to meet, this required around-the-clock work on the part of countless artisans and craftsmen.
Right, good morning, you gorgeous people. How are we today? Great. All right, come on then, let's get these bodies into gear. In one count, down one.
The full company assembled in Toronto for staging rehearsals. And with a scant 2.5 months to opening night, there was a lot of grueling work to be done.
The first thing is it brings everybody together as a company. So you don't start the day separate. You're all in, you come together as a company, and you're all going towards the one aim. Secondly, they've got to get their bodies strong because there's an awful lot of movement required. And if they don't have the physical strength to do it, particularly the Phantom, his role is demanding mentally, physically. If they don't start to build the strength, they just won't have the strength to do the whole run. It's 8 shows a week, it's a long time. So we keep it light. Everybody has a little bit of fun, but we're all working, nevertheless, we're all working towards one aim.
somebody over here is doing hide your face, so. Hide your face, so. Okay, let's sing it once beautifully, gorgeously, with talent, okay? Bum, 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 bum.
I was privileged to see Colm Wilkinson, both in London and New York, perform the role of Jean Valjean in Les Miserables. And from that moment, I knew that I was again experiencing a particularly unique talent in terms of the musical stage.
For you will bend and tell me.
There's a story early on in the rehearsals for Les Mis when Colm was just sitting quietly in a break singing away, and the director turned to the stage manager and said, you know, I know this play was about God. I didn't know he was going to be in it.
Let your soul take you where you long to be.
Colm Wilkinson would have been the first choice of the Phantom, logically, because of the tremendous performance he gave when we did it at my festival at Sydenham. Rebecca, of course, is a very old friend and associate of mine, and was absolutely wondrous in London. And it was a very strong suggestion of mine that she should do it.
Please don't change it. It's perfection. All right. Can't do better than perfection.
Be sure to hold it, Ellen.
A little slower, Mel. Good. Panting. Don't ask. Just don't ask, okay? G sharp above middle C and B. We do a half an hour physical warm-up, and then we do the vocal warm-up to gently wake up their voices. You get them in a room together, and you want them to feel comfortable with each other. You want the barriers to be broken down, so as actors, they relate to each other. So in the process of putting them in the circle the way I do, you know, they watch each other and they begin to listen to each other. They stop thinking about my part, my acting, my voice. And they think about our show and our performance. Pick up the tempo. Not too much. Oh, that's terrific. I'm okay. Thank you, Melody. Now split the difference, that's too much. Okay. Let me go to yes, yeah, just I'll give you a moment up there. This is the one I ask of you.
We have approximately 12 costume makers, 12 fabulous costume makers, who have teams of 4 or 5. So we're talking about 60 to 70 people.
Hi, Janet. I made it.
We're talking about decorators, milliners, shoe people.
I'll be right down.
Every costume for the Toronto production of Phantom was created from scratch. The first square inch of material had to be bought, and that meant shopping trips across Canada, the US, Europe, and even India to obtain the best materials possible. That same quality is found in the beads and sequins and other embellishments of the rich and colorful costumes.
Wonderful for me. But they're exciting costumes, and I think that people are very happy working on these costumes because from beginning to end, this whole production has just been, it's been positive and one that's really fun, really fun.
I didn't know any of that stuff. Me either. Let's get it! Can I get my phone? Yeah.
By the time we find the Phantom, he's a kind of shadow in the Paris Opera House, writing music. And then you take his true history, which is an exceedingly personable, one half of his face exceedingly personable, incredibly gifted, intelligent beyond most people. Human being is born, and his mother instantly is so fearful of the deformity in his face that she claps a mask on him at the moment he can walk and makes him hide behind that mask for the whole of his life. His presence is known only as a shadow on a wall, as a figure moving quickly down a hall. No one sees his face.
The creator of the dreadful, terrifying, monstrous Phantom of the Opera was a stocky, broad-smiling, middle-aged man, so extraordinarily fat that one friend said he looked as if he'd swallowed a globe. Paris, turn of the century. What a robust, depressing time. 1,500 underpaid workers. Took 14 years to build the magnificent opera house. Dressing rooms for more than 500 artists. 9,000 gas lines connected by 10 miles of pipe. The largest opera house in the world. And 5 stories below all this, a dungeon lake where lives the opera ghost. Why did this brilliant, eccentric man write this? Was it his need for love? Was the Phantom his alter ego? And when he had finished the novel, he announced it by picking up the pistol he kept on his desk and firing a shot in the air.
Good.
You're doing it earlier.
No.
That's but you, Hal wants.
For all those involved in the production, the pressure mounts.
The music of the night. The music for me has always been the key. If you feel the truth and the honesty of what you're doing, I think that everything else follows.
Hold the note through there. Okay.
To find the duality of the character, because he's a very, very difficult character to play, because at one point he's very tender and loving, and then the next he's a totally deranged animal, really. And he's a very dangerous animal. And you have got to find the main line that people will look at you and say, yes, he could be like that he would actually kill.
Right now we're up on the Phantom catwalk, which is about 28 feet above the stage. The Phantom appears up here at several key moments during the show. And he has a spectacular view of the house from here. And of course the chandelier.
It is a Victorian story. In my estimation, if we're honest, you can be as big and bold and melodramatic as you choose if you're truthful. It's that kind of theater. It's opera.
We're in the trap room of the Pantages Theater. This was excavated as part of the restoration of the theater. It's 14.5 feet high, and it allowed us to install all of this machinery for Phantom. What you're seeing along here are the control panels for all of the motors that drive the machinery. This trap here is the dive trap, one of the most exciting effects in the show, where someone dives right through the stage. We have lined up here all of the through-the-floor effects.
The 53 mechanical effects in Phantom make it the most complicated show, technically, ever to be produced in Canada. 2 computers control the scenery, and it took 10 months to construct and install not only the scenery, but the intricate mechanical effects.
Please. Now, what is the cue to bring this elephant out? Because it's too late. Yeah. That was fine until the end, and then you threw in the towel. The end. You hear the elephant music?
Yes.
Well, that's when I should start to see the elephant.
Right.
Massive set pieces and drapes are hung high above the stage, over the performers' heads.
There are 61 fly sets here, and Phantom uses most of these sets.
The entire roof area over the stage of the Pantages had to be raised to accommodate the demands of the production.
The flyman is trimming some of the sets right now. You can see them going by. So far, we've used something like 20,000 pounds of counterweight to run this show.
Many heavy decorative draperies, cut from over 30,000 square feet of fabric, were necessary to achieve the atmosphere of the show's Victorian setting.
Probably one of the most exciting things about Phantom is the range of work that's available to do.
It's inevitably going to be a different painting technique just because it's done by a different artist.
We have people painting fabric and dyeing fabric, all kinds of work in fiberglass. We have people sculpting. One of the nice things about working on this show is that although the instructions for the props are very specific, we have the opportunity to put some of our own creativity and ideas into each piece. The monkey music box begins the whole sequence of memory, which starts the Phantom of the Opera.
I guess the face is the most interesting part, is made from rubber latex. Placed in a mold. I had to build him out of plasticine first and then put him in a plaster mold and then painted layers and layers of rubber latex. And you can see he's kind of flexible.
The chandelier has, it's based on a chandelier in the real Paris Opera. We started with something like 100,000 beads, and the work on it goes on and on and on.
A lot of people say the Phantom is a great spectacle, and of course it demands something which has big brush strokes because it's a very high, large, romantic piece. There's no getting away from that. But an awful lot of the Phantom is just 2 or 3 people alone on stage. The music in some way dictates the staging, but the genius of Hal Prince, of course, is that everything he does in the staging complements the music.
There's something very sensual, very erotic, that encloses the whole show. Textures that are erotic, odors that are erotic, colors that are erotic, curtains and drapes you can see through. But I'd like to think there was that kind of perfume in the air. So in fact, the arena in which this whole story is told hopefully supports that sensuality.
You alone can make my song take flight. Help me make
The story of Beauty and the Beast has always fascinated us. A man, isolated because of his deformity, is attracted to a beautiful young woman who rejects him in fear. It's a powerful and timeless theme.
If you analyze the Phantom of the Opera, it all doesn't add up. But as Alan J. Lerner said to me before he tragically died, who was going to work with me on the lyrics, he said, "Listen, dear boy, it works. Don't question this. It's one of those stories that does work."
Arm side, good. And smooth, easy shoulders, up, land.
1,500 performers were auditioned right across Canada. 75 of them reached the finals, and of those, a fortunate 33 made it to the Phantom cast. For each, it's the culmination of years of hard work, the chance of a lifetime.
2, 3, 4, chassis, 1, and there. Please stand, up, down, good, 1, 2. Hold the back leg, hold, chassis, there. Head and eyes, oh, yeah, careful, careful. Hang on, hang on. Stay still.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Is it all right, Danny?
Yeah. Slipped off underneath me.
Put it on in here? Yeah, hold it on.
Yeah.
It's the shock of it always as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. Damn, damn.
The Phantom is a lost soul, a desperate man. It is only through his music he can express his loneliness, his love for Christine. And this is why he teaches her to sing.
In sleep he sang to me, in dreams he came. That voice which calls to me and speaks my name. And do I dream again? For now I find the phantom of the opera is there inside my mind.
Sing once again with me our strange duet. My power over you grows stronger yet. And though you turn from me to glance behind, the phantom of the opera is there inside your
Those who have seen your face draw back in fear. I am the mask you wear.
It's me they hear.
Your spirit and your voice
in one combined. The phantom of the opera is there inside your In all your fantasies, you always knew that man and mystery
were both in you.
and in this labyrinth where night is blind, the phantom of the opera is there inside
my
mind. Sing, my angel of music.
He's there, the phantom of the opera.
Sing for me.
Phantom, I mean, is a unique piece, and really that we're using a state-of-the-art technology to reproduce the 1870s, the lighting of the 1870s, which is a bit of a paradox anyway. The lighting in 1870s in the Paris Opera House is very flat, very muddy, and very dim. And in fact, if you reproduced it on a stage today, people would sort of walk out in disgust as, well, why can't I see anything? And in those days, you used gaslight. So to reproduce that effect in the 90s was quite tricky. So we had to reproduce electronic candles that look real, but are safe to use and things like that. And then on top of that, we put on effects that make the lights shimmer and wobble to enhance the sort of gas feel of that century of lighting. I think in this design it's pretty sensual and erotic in the fact that we let the audience sort of fill in the black holes with their own images. And what you don't see is as exciting as what you do see. So we fill in a little bit of the scenery and let it fade away into darkness, and you think, is the phantom watching, or is he there, or is he there?
There's a diva, kind of Maria Callas lady, temperamental and traditional, and singing all the major roles in the opera house and acting them rather awkwardly and chewing off the scenery. And she gets all the roles, and the audiences love her that way. And the Phantom, he arranges to frighten her off the scene so that he can introduce this young opera singer. So she saves the day at the opera house, and the audience loves her, and it works. And he's triumphant, and he takes her below the opera house, to where, in fact, he lives and writes his music and has created this drama. All the emotional baggage that goes with having never related to the opposite sex, having never walked the earth, he is sublimated into music. And I think she's damn confused. But the truth is, she'll never, ever feel that way about a man as she does about the Phantom. Never, ever. She's frightened of feelings he's aroused in.
She loves him.
She cannot resist unmasking him.
Stand by for full rehearsal.
Now you've all had
With less than 20 days to opening night, the company prepares to move onto the stage of the Pantages Theater.
Let's remember the tension in the scene when we get to it. Remember the mystery. Don't let's just now sing wonderfully and dance wonderfully. Let's remember what the scene's about, okay? I can't say enough about the company. I don't want to sound like I'm gushing over everybody, because it just sounds false, but I really mean it. They are wonderful. I don't need the tape.
Jeffrey, so.
Oh.
So that Jeffrey can get
Yeah, okay, I can work down here.
When I was living in the States, in school, I always had a slight British accent, and then I was moved to Italy, where I obviously didn't speak the right language, and then I moved to England, where they thought I had an American accent, and wherever I've been, I've always been a foreigner. You know, nobody's ever thought that I was one of theirs, and you know, when I look in the paper and I see myself described as Toronto's own Rebecca Kane, and I know it sounds really wet, but we warm up by singing "Oh Canada," and you know, it's just for the first time I feel a sort of a sense of national identity, which I never had before, and it's very touching for me.
It's right down the side there. It's the 5th metatarsal. A lot of dancers break it. It happens to a lot of people. But it should be okay. I mean, I should make it for first preview even.
We have a 56-channel sound desk. The desk itself would cost in the region of 250,000 Canadian dollars. So it's quite expensive equipment. The show is radio mic'd. Every performer wears a little radio mic. And these are positioned around their wigs, usually, rather than on their bodies these days, around their hairline and hanging in their fringes. And each radio mic is processed through a sound mixer and sent out through a combination of many, many speakers in the building.
I thought, I'm not going to be happy with a mask halfway across a man's face. I thought, even more importantly, how wonderful it would be if we split him right down, because that's a metaphor. Because that's really two sides of the human personality.
I was very influenced by an extraordinary story about a man who was very, very badly hurt and scarred facially in the Falklands War. And he's perfectly okay in every respect, except that his face has been burnt away. And it was around about the time I was looking at the story of the Phantom, and you begin to think, what is the story about? It's about somebody who, if it were not for the fact that his face was disfigured, could have been anything, and could have been anything from Casanova to a genius.
He's actually born deformed, and there's a beautiful part in the musical where he talks to Christine down in the lair when she's actually taken off the mask and the whole bit, and he's really exposed for the first time, and he says that the first thing his mother's fear and loathing, a mask, my first unfeeling scrap of clothing. So that's the first thing he felt as a child, was a piece of cloth covering his face. Now that has to affect a person's mind. But in the end, he's left alone on the stage with his music again, and she has gone. And he's just, and that's for me is one of the most, emotional parts of the musical, when he's left alone.
Say you want me with you here beside you. Anywhere you go, let me go too. Christine, that's all I ask of you.
On September 20th, 1989, the stunning Canadian production of The Phantom of the Opera opened at the magnificently restored Pantages Theatre. The show continues to break box office records, and a touring company will soon play in cities across Canada. The Phantom is a tribute to the hundreds of artists and craftsmen who, after months of hard work and intense dedication, made it all happen.
We have it all in this country. We just have to test ourselves continually and know that we do have that capacity to do well. And I think it shows in this entire experience here.
you go.